This episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast was brought to you by Venus Concept Australia. Hello and welcome to the Beauty Industry Podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Reid. Here we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beauty Industry. Today my guest is Renée Rouleau from Renée Rouleau Skin Care. A lifelong skin enthusiast, Renée has dedicated 30 plus years to the art of skin perfection. From the very beginning as an esthetician herself, starting out in a one-room hairdressing salon, Renée recognised that every person's skin is unique. However, she also noticed that the beauty industry mostly relied on a one-size-fits-all approach to skincare, and that product lines were traditionally catered to very generic categories of skin, so dry, normal, and oily. With the spark of an idea and a whole lot of passion and purpose, Renée began formulating her own exclusive products based on not one but 9 skin types to ensure her clients achieved the results they desired. Using her practical knowledge that she's learnt from being hands-on, her namesake product collection, Renée Rouleau Skin Care, easily navigates the skin's needs by using ingredients and formulas that are innovative and effective to build the empire we know and love today. Here's Renée and I for Beauty Industry.
Thanks, Tamara. Super happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
The pleasure is all mine. Renée, we start all the way back at our guest careers, the very entrance of their careers, in fact. And I'd love to start with you there today. How did you enter into the professional aesthetic industry?
Always the $1 million question is, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? That's like probably one of life's hardest decisions, right? Finding your passion, things like that. And I knew that college was not a path for me, but really wasn't sure of what I wanted to do. Luckily, I had been influenced by beauty at a young age. My grandmother was a hairstylist and owned the Powder Puff Beauty Shop. And so I grew up in that environment. So I was introduced to that early on as a child, and watching a single mother who loved what she did and was able to make a living doing it. And so when it came time to figure out what I wanted to do, it was actually my mother who suggested that I get into the beauty industry, because my mom always saw that I was always really into it. I think, we all can relate to being a beauty junkie. And, I was the first kid in my school in the 5th grade to wear makeup. And I used to do other people's makeup. And in high school, I was always experimenting with all sorts of skincare products at the time. This was, in high school, it was in the 80s. And I used to mail order skincare products from some bougie line. And, just was always into it. I didn't always want to just do the usual drugstore products that people were using, my friends were using, and I just was always seeking out beauty. And so I actually started out as a hairstylist, thinking that I would kind of follow in the steps of my grandmother. But luckily, the first salon that I worked at, it was a full service salon, but they had a facial room with an esthetician or beauty therapist, and she became my mentor. But I was exposed. I didn't really, this was kind of late 80s, and being an esthetician was, there weren't many of them, and they had recently just opened a school where you could learn how to do that up in Boston where I was living, but it was really early on. So had the salon I worked at not had an esthetician, I may not have really been exposed to that, and I probably would have just continued being a hairstylist, which actually I didn't like, so I'm sure I would have dropped out at some point. But so I became an esthetician in the late 80s, and here we are so many years later, and I still love what I do.
Ah, amazing. Isn't it funny sometimes how the universe guides us? I mean, as you said, if you hadn't have seen that esthetician, maybe you wouldn't have gone down that pathway. Maybe you wouldn't be where you are today, but who knows what that pathway would look like.
For sure. And she ended up becoming my business partner. So she really saw a passion in me and kind of a spark in me. And she was a mother of two, had two young children, and always had dreams of, she was 13 years older than me and always had dreams of opening up her own business, but she didn't want to do it alone because she had young children. And we just had a great chemistry, great connection. Her strengths were my weaknesses, vice versa. And she ended up becoming my business partner for 5 years until I ended up moving out of the East Coast and starting my own company. But yeah, so my mentor ended up being, my partner in business.
Wow, that is such a special story. How did you find your way into being an esthetician? I mean, as soon as you went through school and then you got out doing the treatments, did you just naturally fall into it? Did you love it? Did you have to work more, study more? What did that kind of pathway look like?
Well, because I had a coworker, we worked at the salon together. She was my mentor. So I was just, she had been in the industry for quite a few years prior to me entering it. She was actually a teacher at the first aesthetic school. And so I just picked her brain for everything and, just really counted on her to show me the ways. I've always been a super curious person. I always, to this day, anything in life, when I meet somebody, I'm always asking a million questions, just because I'm, just always curious. And I think being curious is a great trait because that's how you learn. And so I just kept asking her a million questions and let her show me the way.
Beautiful. So tell me about your love for skin. When did that come into the picture and how did that develop?
Well, I think, for me, a little funny story, but so when in my high school years, I was the youngest of four kids, and I remember, I was getting some acne, and I just, loved like kind of picking at my skin. And then like my brother, I'd see like a big zit on his back, and I'd be like, hold still, let me get that. And it was really like, wait, when I later understood, what an esthetician was, I said, you mean, they always say, find something you love doing and find a way to make money doing it. And I was like, you mean someone will pay me to pick at their skin? I was like, I can actually make money doing this. And so yeah, I just, was, I mean, obviously picking isn't good. And I call myself a reformed picker. I eventually gave it up as a New Year's resolution one year because I was an esthetician, and for many years I still picked at my skin, and I struggled with cystic acne in my adult years, early adult years, like my 20s. And I always like, oh, my hands are licensed, as I'd be picking at some cyst, which should never be picked at, and realizing I was creating all sorts of problems and scarring. And so I would preach to, my clients not to pick, yet I wasn't listening to my own wisdom. And so yeah, I kind of learned the hard way there. But yeah, just a pure fascination with how the skin works and what makes it tick, and then eventually learning about products and cosmetic chemistry and product development. That's a whole other aspect that makes it super fun and interesting.
Yes, I love reformed picker. I'm going to use that. And I think we always we never, well, not always, but rarely do we practice what we preach as therapists and estheticians. So we always tell our clients, don't pick and don't pop, and
Uh,
then there we are.
yes, guilty.
So then tell me about you're in clinic, you're treating all of these clients, seeing their skin. Was it for you, a build up over time where you went, actually, I could get these results, but something is missing? Or, where was that itch for you that made you want to create a skincare range?
Yeah, so great question. So when I went to school, you learned about skin types. You learned dry, normal, and oily, and what that skin type is like, or those skin types are like. And then we also learned about Fitzpatrick skin types. I ended up I knew Dr. Fitzpatrick, because come to find out, he actually came to the salon and used to get his haircut there. So it's
Wow.
funny that I actually knew Dr. Fitzpatrick. But Fitzpatrick's skin type is really about skin tone. And while that's important, that's really only used like when you're doing laser treatments, like certain, or peels can only be used on certain Fitzpatrick skin types. But in your every day-to-day life, you're kind of just stuck with like the dry, normal, and oily categories. And so what I knew and learned early on was, as good as I am as an esthetician, I only have an hour with you. And the most important thing is what you do at home. It's kind of like going to a personal trainer, right? They work you out, but then you go home and you eat junk food and don't take care of yourself. You're not going to get a lot of great results out of that personal training session. So the same was with skin, where I would, we had a skincare line that had a small range that I was selling at the salon, and it was one skincare line and catered to dry, normal, and oily. So there were 3 moisturizers and maybe 2 or 3 cleansers, and maybe 2 masks, maybe even 1 or something. But it was just so limited. And all of a sudden, I'm working with clients, and my client has a variety of different concerns. And now all of a sudden, I'm going, maybe they have rosacea, maybe they're having some adult acne, cystic acne, maybe they're have hyperpigmentation from post-breakout marks or melasma or something. And now I'm looking at the skincare line going, well, this is just for kind of dry, normal, and oily. And dry, normal, and oily is important. It tells you, how much oil your skin produces or not. But that really has more to do with like how rich or how light a moisturizer should be, right? But it doesn't really talk about anything else. And so I was like, how am I supposed to give the results for my clients if I just have this range of 14 products to recommend? So I convinced the salon owner to bring in a second line and eventually a third line so I could curate their own routine. So fast forward, when I started Renée Rouleau Skin Care in Dallas, now my company's based in Austin, Texas, but when I started with my first skincare spa in Dallas and started my skincare line, I knew that I needed to have an extensive range of products. And so I determined, my whole philosophy is that I believe there's 9 types of skin. And so today my line has 50 products, and you take a skin type quiz at reneerouleau.com. It will put you into one of the 9 skin types, and the skin types are very unique. I mean, when people take the quiz and they read about their skin type, they go, whoa, oh my gosh, like, this is me perfectly, sound to a T. How did you know? And so, so really just understanding that people have very specific concerns above and beyond dry, normal, and oily. And so I created a problem-solving skincare that's very catered to the individual, very personalized, very customized.
Yes, I love it so much. I'm really interested to know, I love behavior and psychology, and I think many, many therapists and estheticians have sat there browsing their shelves, their retail shelves, and going, dry, normal, oily, but my client's pigmented, and sometimes she gets oily and sometimes she doesn't. And we've all had that kind of sticky situation. What do you think it is about you that went, do you know what? I'm actually going to act on this, not just get another skincare brand in, but I'm going to start to formulate my own.
Yeah, I think, being an esthetician for now over 30 years, I've heard the same questions asked, the same concerns. I've seen the same concerns. And so I always, when I create a skincare product, the first thing I always say is, what problem am I looking to solve? So case in point, adult acne, right? If you're 29 years old and you're still struggling with breakouts, you can't treat your skin like it's a teenage acne because you're not that oily anymore. Maybe you get, breakouts occasionally, right? And so if there is an acne skincare line, they never take into account how often someone breaks out. Oh, you have breakouts? Great, use our acne line. Well, what if somebody only gets it around, their monthly cycle, right? Like, you can't be treating the whole face for acne day in and day out when you only get it a couple days before your cycle. So, I have solutions that address how to prepare your skin to lead up for when you're going to break out, to create an environment where it lessens that opportunity to happen. And so, so everything is very, very much, if I was not an esthetician and just created a skincare line, it would be so different because I wouldn't have that knowledge of the concerns that people have, I always say, like, literally for 30 years, I have been 4 inches from people's faces, staring down their pores, having conversations about their life, their lifestyle, and just conversations after conversations, and you just, things stick after a while, like, wow, there's no product out there that is speaking to this problem. So it's super, and many years later, I ended up stopped taking clients for about 3 years, and I wanted to focus more on product development and our website and all that. And then I opened up a second skincare spa in Dallas, and I knew I had a big business loan I had to pay off. So I said, okay, I'll go back in the room again, taking clients. And then when I get my loan paid off, I'll maybe think about coming out again. And I never stopped taking clients after that. Now they're very limited now. We don't have our skincare spas in Dallas anymore. We're strictly 100% e-commerce company, but I have some high profile clients in LA that I see from time to time, less obviously because of COVID. But I really realized, not interacting with clients, how much that was preventing my opportunities to learn and grow. And it's those conversations that inspire every blog post that I have on my blog. And that's just firsthand, knowledge that I continue to gain. And I was really surprised at how much, when I went back to taking clients, how I realized that is the best source of education I could ever have.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when we put that head office hat on and we move out of the treatment room, our ideas start to become less practical because we're not actually listening to the feedback and the concerns of the client. We're just thinking with our marketing hat on.
Right. I'm running a company. I have employees, and that kind of took center stage. But I realized, no, I still need to make sure I'm keeping my hands in it, literally. So.
After the break, Renee shares with us why more business owners need to say no than they currently do, how she lets her company values weigh in on the decisions she makes, and the many lessons she's learnt along the way. But first, a word from today's beauty partner. Community, I am beyond excited to introduce to you the latest in laser hair removal, the Epilieve, an innovative new tabletop device and the latest to launch from Venus Concept Australia. Venus Epilieve has been brought to market to fill the gap between skin and aesthetic clinics being able to provide laser hair removal services for their clients as a cost-effective and easy-to-use tabletop solution that will generate a positive return on investment to aesthetic practices. Epilieve's design has clearly been well thought out. It's refreshingly compact, taking up only a small footprint on your benchtop or cupboard, and complements even the smallest spaces, perfect for compact tables or trolleys that wheel between treatment rooms. The device features a foot switch for safety, of course, and its ergonomic applicator is designed for left and right hand use so that every therapist in your clinic feels comfortable when using it. Preset parameters and an auditory guidance system make it incredibly easy to operate and ensure the results are more predictable and consistent from client to client. Venus Concept have designed Epilieve with affordability in mind and offer financing options suitable for all investment and repayment levels with their unique subscription acquisition plan, a fully customizable interest-free monthly payment plan with no hidden cost, which is absolutely incredible. Get in touch with the team by visiting www.venusconcept.com/au to learn more. Thank you so much to the team at Venus Concept for making this episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast possible. And now back to Renee. So I'm interested to know, how did you find bridging the gap from esthetician into somebody who all of a sudden runs this, as you mentioned, e-commerce business and learning about marketing and product development and formulation? I mean, it's a huge skills gap there. I mean, even though you knew a lot about ingredients and skin type and concerns from clients, running a business, let alone an online skin empire, is two completely different things. Did you have to study, or did you have further mentorship through that phase?
So to this day, my former business partner, my mentor, we're still really close. So I always have her on speed dial because we have a little bit of different skill sets. She's really the true esthetician, and not that I'm not, but my strength is also running a business and running a company. I'm more business minded in a lot of ways. And so I still always kind of tap into her. And, just always eager to learn. I mean, the industry, more so in the past probably 8 years is changing at, so fast, but for many years it wasn't as much. But I just think I'm somebody that, again, is curious, and I just always want to be learning, and I never feel like I knew it all. And some things some skin tips and some beliefs I had early on that, that I really thought were true, that I don't believe in anymore. I kind of switched my story because research proved me otherwise.
Yes. Yeah. Very cool. I like that. So when it comes to skin and skincare, pretty much everyone titles themselves as an expert these days, especially in the online space. And there can be lots of different options of what's best and different opinions as well. It can be sometimes hard to recognize and sift through all of the nonsense and the false claims out there, especially when it comes to trending and moving into 2021. There's lots of uncertainty around trends. When you're developing or launching a new product, as you mentioned, 50 products is humongous. But how do you rather decide on what trends to go with and what ones to kind of leave behind?
Great question. I mean, I kind of shy away from the word trend, because trend implies that something's hot and then it's not. And so there are, I feel lucky because being in the industry for 30 years, what I've learned is trends come and go. But a lot of people, it's a marketing thing. People will see an opportunity and they'll jump on it, some new hot ingredient or whatever. And then after a while, it kind of fizzles out and they kind of just got what they want out of it, but they probably kind of knew it wasn't going to last. And I think the big thing with skincare ingredients is that, all of a sudden some new buzzy ingredient will come on the market and everyone gets excited about it. But I like to kind of wait and see how it plays out. I don't need to be the first to market with something. And because I'm kind of just competing with myself, meaning I'm not in retailers, I'm not fighting for shelf space, and I'm not having to, kind of be part, on that crazy train basically. And so I definitely, when I hear about something hot and buzzy, I'll talk about it on my blog and kind of weigh in on it. Like the new slugging trend that's going on right now. I just did a great blog post about it, but I definitely like to wait things out because I've seen too many things come and go. And I feel like it's my credibility on the line, right? Just to jump on a trend for the sake of making a few dollars only to find out that, it actually didn't do what it said it was going to do. Like, that's integrity, right? And that's my value of reputation. And so I really am super strategic and careful about what I come out with because I want to really stand behind it.
Yes, I love that so much. And I've heard you would embrace the power of no regularly, which I have even done a few lives on in our community. I don't think business owners and probably just people in general do enough have that power in saying no. How do you find that balance between being a business owner, wanting to be a great leader for the people around you, but still having your power and saying, do you know what, maybe it's not a no, maybe it's not a today, or let's revisit that in the future?
Yeah, great, Tamara. Yeah, I think what probably is a little bit of the driving force is that my company is my name, and my name, when I came out of the womb, my parents got a birth certificate with my name on it, and I created a company with my name on it. So it's very, very personal. People, look at me through a microscope because there's actually a person behind the brand. When you look at lines like Clinique or something, you're like, who's Mr. or Mrs. Clinique? There's no such person, right? And so there's a lot of, I say scrutiny in a way, because people want to know what my life is like personally, professionally. And, you kind of have to really make sure, it's your reputation. So I very much, and I also have the benefit of, because I'm not looking to be a brand that takes over the world. I own 100% of my company and in keeping it that way. So I, as I said, I'm competing against myself, and I don't have any pressure from outside investors. I don't have pressure from anyone to do anything I don't want to. So I just really always trust my gut and take my time, and decide what, my stamp of approval. It has to be something that I really feel strongly about.
Yeah, completely. Do you, this is not a question that we've briefed you on, but I love talking about values and alignment. Do you do any work, personally, and also then perhaps take that into your company professionally to work on your values and help your values navigate your decisions?
For sure. Yeah. So both, I've been doing core values exercises since I was in my early 20s. I remember I took this class and learned how to do a core values exercise. And core values are really decision-making tools, and they're your guiding light, your northern star, or your north star. And so I've been doing them personally for many, many years. I'll do them, every couple of years, just to make sure I'm kind of staying on track with where I'm going, because values do change as you get older. Your perspective of the world is different.
Mm.
In my company, we also have core values as well. And, when you think about, like, if you walk into a tire shop or something and they'll have their core values on the wall, and you as a consumer kind of look at it and you're like, okay, that's cool. This is what they stand for. But I think, and I can't speak for any other company but my own, but we literally use our core values as like I said, a decision-making tool. So in our leadership team, if somebody says, oh, I think we should do this, and then somebody says, oh no, I think we should do completely the opposite, we always go to our core values and says, okay, what's our core values? What does that tell us? And it becomes real obvious what the right decision is. And so I think it's, again, it's about integrity. And so we really, use that in our company. I mean, on our Slack channel, we're always hashtagging our core values. And I mean, we really use them to guide us for the right decision. And the fact that, we'll be celebrating Renée Rouleau Skin Care 25 years next August. And I mean, we're thriving, still in business, right? I mean, no company is, they say, like, most businesses don't last 5 years. But we're almost 25 years, and our company is bigger, stronger, healthier than it's ever been. And we're growing at a pace that I want. Again, I'm not looking to take over the world. So we have the kind of growth we want. Like, going back to saying no, I say no to a lot of opportunities because I'm not going to sell my soul for the almighty dollar. I'm just not going to. And if I shared with you some of the opportunities I've turned down, you'd be like, oh my gosh, Renee, really? Why would you turn that down? But money is not the guiding light. It's about, it's not everything for me. It's about, first and foremost, company culture. I want to impact people, both who use my products and people who choose my company to come to work every day, spend more time with their coworkers than they will with people at their own home. Obviously, in a pandemic, it's a little different with a lot of remote workers, but to me, it's really about people and not money being the guiding factor. So.
Yes, and that's very important because that kind of passion will take you so much further. And that's probably a big attribution as to why you've lasted 25 years, not the 5 years, because you haven't been guided by money. You've been guided by these other different purposes, which I love.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to think so, for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned there that you don't want to take over the world. However, you're definitely taking over the celebrity skin world. I mean, you've got names like Demi Lovato, you've got Lily Reinhart, Sofia Vergara. When you first began this skincare line, and even thinking back to when you first saw that little esthetician room, could you have ever imagined that this would be the business you've created, and even more so, a business you've created and built under your own name, as you said, with your parents giving you that birth certificate? I just think that is the coolest thing.
Yeah, it's funny because I was never, when I sought out to, start my career, when I sought out to start a business, I think it's just one foot in front of the other, right? And I never had dreams. Like, when you hear stories about, like, childhood actors or something, they said, oh, I always knew I wanted to be an actor and I wanted to be famous, right? And people who want to be famous, they have the reasons for doing so. But that was never, again, I was never looking to take over the world. For me, I just want to love what I do and love the people I do it with and make a positive impact as much as I can. And both internally within our company and externally with our customers and our followers. And so I just didn't have long-term goals. And I just kind of want to just keep being passionate and keep learning and growing, and whatever happens would happen. So yeah, a lot of opportunities, I think, from just, being organic and just being real. A lot of great opportunities have fallen in my lap that I didn't necessarily seek out. But, when you put out good to the world, good comes back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes life just gives us what we need at the exact divine timing, doesn't it?
Exactly, for
Mm.
sure.
So talk to me then, skincare brand for 25 years, esthetician before that, you've been in partnership. I'm sure there are lots of lessons that you've learned along the way. Has any one or two stood out to you the most?
Lessons. So lessons in business or lessons as an esthetician?
Yeah, lessons in business.
Lessons in business. Oh gosh, of course. I mean, because technically I've had Renée Rouleau for 25 years. So I've almost 25 years. So I've been own this company for that long. And then when I was 21, from 21 to 26 is when I had my first skincare salon with my business partner. So whatever 51 minus 21 is what? 21, 31, 40, 30 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at math. Actually, probably that's my lesson. I'll get to in a second. But yeah, I mean, I've owned my business for so long. And so yeah, lots of lessons. I think probably the math thing is, when you own your own business, you have to wear every hat, and you're the person that unclogs the toilet. You're the person that's doing payroll, signing checks. I'm still a service provider, managing my team, motivating my team, being the cheerleader for them. And then, negotiating leases, and I mean, just all the things you have to do. What I regret is I wish I would have delegated things that I wasn't good at earlier, because case in point, there comes a time for every service provider when they own their own business and they're the service provider and employ other beauty therapists, is that at some point the demands of the business take over and they don't want to be a service provider anymore. So as I mentioned, I took myself out of the room for a while, a couple years, to focus on the business, product development, and our website and all of that. And had I paid attention to my numbers and books and understood it, I would have realized that the company, me being a service provider, was that income I made from that was really kind of paying all the bills. And so what I did was I didn't just go cold turkey and stop taking clients. I said to my clients, hey, I want to let you know that at the end of the year, so this was like June, so I gave them 6 months notice, I'm no longer going to be taking clients. Now at the time I was only taking clients 3 days a week. So I mean, I was already kind of a little part-time anyway. So what I did was I didn't want to lose those clients, right? Understandably. But I knew they had a relationship with me. I knew that being an esthetician is really a relationship business. Like, it's the connection you have with your service provider that's really valuable. I mean, at the end of the day, hands are hands, right? And no one's hands are technically more magical than the next person. And so what I did was I announced to the client, hey, each and every client, I'm going to be stopping taking clients, but I have the perfect esthetician that can replace you. So I would bring that esthetician in and, kind of be there for part of the treatment, really try to get a relationship going between my client and the new person, explain to them about her skin. And so the idea was, when I stopped taking clients, they would feel good because they already had this start of a relationship with them. And all the clients told me, oh yeah, Renee, no, I'll for sure keep coming and I'll go to that new person, no problem. And then all of a sudden I stopped taking clients, and probably about 30% of my clients didn't come back. And they told me they were going to, but again, like, what are they not going to tell me? Like, people will always tell you what you want to hear, right? So of course they're going to be, oh yeah, Renee, I'll go to them. But at the end of the day, they wanted whose name was on the door, and they loved the relationship with me. And maybe they just didn't want to connect with the new person or whatever. And so all of a sudden, and then also what I kind of realized is because I'm the founder of the products, nobody could sell in the way that I did. And so when they went to the new estheticians, not as many products were being sold. and again, we lost some of the clients, and then all of a sudden I can't make payroll, and I'm going, oh no. And I really should have just, again, if I followed my numbers more, I should have really planned for this better. And so what I ended up doing was I could have easily gone, oh, oops, never mind, guys, I'm back again. But I knew that I needed to be out of the room because I knew that the business needed me. And so I just really pushed harder on, some marketing strategies and things for our website. And eventually I kind of made up for that money. So, but yeah, that was a big lesson. The lesson is clients will tell you, it's just like when a client leaves, oh, I'd love to see you next month. And can I get scheduled? And they go, oh no, I don't have my calendar. I'll call you back. Yeah, no, I'll definitely see you. And then you don't see them for 6 months. Right. But they'll tell you that. And so, it's just like, so that was a lesson. And again, paying attention to numbers and money a little bit more would have made me not be so stressed.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few lessons there. I mean, a good lesson in persistence, and trusting your gut and knowing that you need to step out of the treatment room in order to make the business what it is today. And then also a lesson in, well, everyone's going to tell you what you want to hear. So that can be clients, it can be investors, it can be retailers, it can be wholesalers. So just be careful along that pathway too, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people don't want to disappoint people. So whatever it is they need to tell you that gets them out, satisfies you and lets them go on their merry way, that's what they'll tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we have a lot of people who listen to our podcast who ask us lots of questions via the DMs on how they can start a product range and, what's the first kind of step. Do you have any advice in that respect? Knowing what you know now, you might say, don't do it, it's too hard. Or you might say, actually, this is how you do it.
Well, as much as I would love to think that products are all about the formula, it's not. It's about marketing as well, right? Because you can have the best products in the world, but if no one knows about them or there's not something that's hooking them, you're just not going to do well. So marketing definitely plays into that. And I think the big focus has to be, what can you do that hasn't been done before? And how can you, create something that is unique and solving a problem and speaks to people in a way they haven't been spoken to before. And, we all see that there's new lines being launched and everyone will have like a little bit of spin on it. But like, for example, you can't come out with a line and say, oh, our product is unique because it's clean. It's a clean beauty line. Well, the reality is that would have been fine 5 years ago, but no one's using the bad stuff anymore. So really, in theory, most lines are considered clean now because there's certain no-nos that you just don't use. And so that kind of ship has sailed a little bit because that's the new standard. Same with like animal testing. It's animal testing, along with saying you're a clean line, it's very trendy right now to have a certification to prove it, AKA like, Leaping Bunny or PETA or whatever. And so a lot of companies are like, oh, we're a clean brand and we don't do animal testing. Here in the States, the reality is you couldn't even find a lab to animal test your products, even if you wanted to. I mean, it's like virtually impossible. Like they don't have the bunny farms they used to that were used exclusively for animal testing. And so it's like, the consumer doesn't really know that. People are like, oh, I just want to make sure before you buy your products that you don't do animal testing. And, but it's kind of silly because for those in the know, and, I try to educate people about this, like, don't fall into that. Like, I mean, that's fine. Like, don't do, but that's just kind of it's just kind of silly to try to market yourself as the line that is clean and doesn't do animal testing, because most lines are that way. Now, I mean, I'm pretty proud of my line because back in like 2007 or something, I got certified with Leaping Bunny to show my products were not animal tested. But you have to understand that they were doing animal testing back then, right? Like I mean, so it was a big deal back then to get that certification because it was still actively being done, but it's not being done anymore. So I guess, the point of all that is, you have to find something that's unique and different. And, everything's just kind of been done. And So I think that's the main thing, is what's going to make you set yourself apart. And, and most people, the story usually goes, well, my skin's really sensitive and I couldn't find any products that didn't irritate my skin. So I came out with a line, but even that story's been, that's kind of old too. So again, there's so many lines and it's highly competitive now. And, so just trying to be unique.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, and I think the way to do it is just starting with one product. Like my friend Shani Darden, she just came out with, when she started, it was just one product, and a retinol product, and it became a cult favorite. And now she's added things to the line. But I think that's probably, if I had to start now, I would just do one product and make that one really unique and very specific and problem solving something. But, I wouldn't, coming out with a whole range and trying to be something to everyone. I think that's a little challenging.
Absolutely. The niche is where it's at.
Yes.
Definitely. So then tell me, last question for you, moving into 2021, what are you excited for? Do we have any big plans in the ventures? What can we expect?
A lot of things. We have a new blog post coming out with our kind of year in review and what's coming up for 2021. So actually, let me just pull it up because I'm just finished writing it. One of the things is I'm working on a couple new products, a couple new masks for barrier repair, which is super exciting. The big thing with barrier repair is because everyone's using retinoids now, and people want to really provide that comfort to the skin, which hasn't been done. But the challenge is it's easy to repair a barrier for someone with dry skin, but it's much harder for somebody with oily skin, because by nature, those products are, they can be clogging to the skin. So the problem I'm looking to solve with that product is, how can I effectively repair a barrier without it being problematic for people who are prone to breakouts. So that's super exciting. We're hiring a bunch of new positions. We are continuing our focus with sustainability initiatives. A big part is we can control more so what goes on in our workplace. It's very hard to find recyclable packaging, and companies are trying to work on it, but it's still very, very challenging. And so we will still continue to look at it and continue to research that. But it's more like managing our energy use, in our company. And we actually brought in a consulting firm who specializes in carbon and water footprint analysis. And so, we're launching some initiatives with them. So things with energy usage, gas, water, travel of personnel, and also the packaging that we use for shipping and the requirements that we have from our vendors when they ship us things. So, internally they're working on some new products, as I mentioned. We also have our 25th anniversary. So that's, quarter century. So those are kind of the things that we have in the works, both internally and then what we're putting out for our customer as well.
Oh, I love that. Definitely practicing what you're preaching. And I love that it's not all external marketing and this and that, but you're really taking a look at the internal operations. I think businesses need to do that more, especially moving into the sustainability and energy saving function. So good on you.
Yeah, we and what's kind of unique about our company, unlike a lot of companies, is we do our own fulfillment, meaning we ship out our own boxes to our customers. We don't outsource it to a 3PL. And so we have full control about that. We do use contract manufacturers that make the products, but a lot of them, we actually do our own filling in-house. So we have a OSHA certified lab, and we do our own bottling, so we can control certain things there. And it's all just about trying to keep control so that we have the say in the matter of how we want to do good for the world.
Brilliant. Sounds like lots of consideration goes into those meetings. Renee, thank you so much for spending the morning with me today and sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge. I can't wait till this episode goes live because we're going to have lots of love for it, I can imagine.
Thank you, Tamara.
What I love the most about Renee, very much like her skincare range, is that she's honest, candid, and very considered in all respects, something that is not always easy to do or easy to be in business. Whether it's advice on startup, growth, or operations, there is something for everyone to learn from on the sage advice from Renee. To find out more about Renee's 9 skin types mentioned in today's episode, or to see the way she prescribes through basic, essential, and complete prescriptions, you can head over to the Renée Rouleau website and complete the quiz for yourself, or follow along with them on the gram by searching for @Renée Rouleau. Us, of course, you'll find all the information about other podcast episodes, our upcoming events, digital magazine, and lots more beauty goodness by finding us at Beauty Industry and myself at Tamara Reed Beauty. Until next time, stay connected.